Hey, can we hear me? Just want to make sure that I have audio before we get started here. So we don't have to go through the debacle again. Before we start, it's weird this YouTube thing. All good, perfect. Just a little sidebar, because I'm a guy in my 30s trying to figure out YouTube, and when I schedule these things, I I schedule them and I don't have my microphone obviously plugged in. So I go to like the scheduled one and I switch to my microphone and then I start it. And those two times where I've had technical difficulties, just my microphone and my audio just wouldn't work. So that was cool. But hey, you know what? That's all right. We're good now. Champions League match week. Whew, that's not a hot start. Alrighty. Match week 6. Let me just pull up my matches here because we got some good ones. A couple housekeeping notes, I guess, before we get started here, because we only got 10 people in here. So, and if we have 10, that's totally fine. The Substack thing. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed to it. Honestly, blew over what my goal was to begin. So I'm very, very thankful for everybody that has supported me so far. Hopefully you've enjoyed the content that's been on there so far. There will be more stuff there'll be more overarching stuff as we go further in. I'm hopefully going to get a early bets piece for the Premier League out tomorrow. My goal is just to, keep providing as much content as possible. Projections will be updated tonight. I'll have Premier League simulations updated tonight, and I'll put those out tomorrow morning as well. But yeah, it's going well so far. So thank you everybody who has subscribed, and I'm going to keep putting out as much content as I possibly can. Match week 6 of the Champions League. Let's before we get started, do we want to take a little overarching view for like futures and stuff like that? Because I think it is interesting what the situation a couple teams are in right now, as I was looking through it today. So, for example, Real Madrid, McAllister under 60.5 passes worth betting. Thoughts? That's something I'd have to look into if I'm being totally honest with you right now, Steve, because I don't think that off the top of my head, I know what McAllister's pass numbers are. I can tell you this about. Let's just start off. You know what? Let's just start off with the matches. We'll talk futures at the end maybe, and maybe we'll mix them in as we go. Let me look up Alexis McAllister's pass numbers, because I honestly, off the top of my head, do not know them. I know this is from my write-up. I think that this match is a good play on the under. I like under 3 at anything. I would say -110 or better. I haven't seen if the line has changed at all throughout the day. This morning, it was under 3 at like +102 at Bet365, which was the best number, which I think is really good. Projected 2.5 goals for it. Read a very interesting piece on Girona this week from Total Football Analysis about how they've kind of adapted to the Champions League. And, I kind of knew this about Girona coming in to the season. Obviously, losing all of the guys that they did is just what happens to these lower level teams. They get rated, all their best players leave, and suddenly they have to rebuild. And you're rebuilding in the Champions League against the best teams in the world. And also matches are piling up, a lot of fixtures. And Girona has dealt with a ton of injuries throughout most of the season. So Michel, Girona last season, they were very aggressive out of possession, a team that liked to press high, a team that, typically went with, a 3-1-6 central overload to get, Savinho and Sanganov into 1v1 situations. And they were really, really successful at doing that because they had a great striker up top in Dovbyk. Well, now they don't have like any of those guys. And Sanganov is injured for this match. So it's like, where is the offensive production coming for Girona? So to answer your question, Gregory, I think Liverpool controls this match really from start to finish. And that's going to be the ultimate goal here with Slot. Because, as we know, Liverpool is playing differently. And they have a lot of matches coming up. 6 matches over the next 19 days for Liverpool. I mean, they got Saturday off because of weather. Alexis McAllister is attempting 60.8 passes per 90. So That's interesting. Or he's attempting 60.8, pass completion rate of 86%. So maybe somebody can do the math for me really quick. But I can tell you that's probably under. Yeah, Girona is a little bit more passive this year. They're not pressing as high as often. And the situation that they're in terms of we're getting down to the business end of this Champions League, where um, some teams now have to start getting a little bit desperate, and maybe being more aggressive in certain types of situations. I would put. Let me just pull up the table really quick. I think I forgot where Girona was. Yeah, Girona's sitting in 30th right now, but they're 3 points back from 24th, which is where Real Madrid is right now. So, does Girona approach this match of like, hey, we got to go for it, because guess what? We've got AC Milan and Arsenal on deck. I don't know. I don't know if they're even going to be able to press Liverpool effectively, quite frankly. So I think this is a match where they kind of sit in and feel themselves out. But I can tell you this much, is that Girona matches this season in La Liga are averaging 2.04, or excuse me, 2.1 non-penalty expected goals per 90. So very, very low scoring matches. And that's where I think this one is headed. As far as McAllister's pass numbers, under 16.5. I mean, if Girona's going to play passively, then no, I don't like that. If they're going to press a ton, then yeah, I do like that. And I don't know, maybe he gets subbed off as well. Maybe they try to rotate guys. I don't really know. Because again, like I said, Liverpool's got a lot of matches coming up. So yeah, love under 3 in Girona and Liverpool to kick things off. Yeah, Girona, again, the final third end product just is terrible for them this season. Last season, they had all these incredible players, and now they're 18th in final third of box entry conversion rate. They're one of the worst teams in Spain off set pieces. They're really not even getting a ton of shots off. So I think this is just another Liverpool under, quite frankly. So under 3 at plus 102. Let's hit some big matches here. And then we'll go into some of the smaller ones if that works for everybody. So let's go Atalanta to Real Madrid, because this is an awesome match. A lot of fun. Rematch of the UEFA Super Cup. Real Madrid won that match 2-0. Was struggling to find some XG numbers from that one, but it looked like Real Madrid won the expected goals battle. Hang on one second. I'm a little tired. I was up till 2:30 last night writing this article. So Atalanta, I put this in my article on Substack, which, by the way, if people haven't read it, it's free right now. It's free and available to everybody. I made it free, and I put a screenshot of what my Edge screen looks like for people who don't. Maybe if some people haven't seen it yet. Yeah, I know I had it in my free Google Doc when I first got laid off and everything, but I have a screenshot of the Champions League in there, so you can get a picture of what it'll be like for all the other leagues that I have on there. But Atalanta has not lost the expected goals battle in any match since that UEFA Super Cup. That's insane. That's how good they are right now. It's crazy. Oh my gosh. I know my friend Anthony DeBundo is smiling from ear to ear, because I know he's a big Atalanta guy. But Gasperini, man, he's so versatile with how he sets his team up tactically. So, Atalanta is perfectly fine playing short passes out of the back. There have been instances, though, where they just say, you know what, we're going to go, we're going to drop, Darun and Ederson into the back line and basically create like a back 5 from the back line, and then have a front 5. So if you play against, for example, a team that plays a back 4, like Real Madrid, you can get a 5v4 overload in the last line. You can play a lot of direct balls up to there and cause a lot of problems. So I think that's probably going to be their best route of attack in this match. Real Madrid forever has not been a good pressing team, and when they try to press, it's like a disaster. They're a good low block team, though. I think that's a very underrated thing of what Ancelotti has instilled in them is, they went to Liverpool with the approach of, we're going to sit deep and we're going to counter them. And, like it or not, that was probably their best strategy given the personnel situation they had and how they play, honestly. Now, in terms of injuries for this match. I don't know if Rodrigo or Vinicius Jr. are going to play. Obviously, that's very important in this match because in the Super Cup, the reason that Real Madrid eventually got through and started creating chances against Atalanta was basically just because of individual quality of those two guys plus Mbappe. They decided to play very direct because Atalanta is a team that will go man-to-man and apply a lot of ball pressure. So, the easiest route to not coming to that pressure is just playing direct balls over the top and just getting into 1v1s and saying, let's go. So if Real Madrid has all three of those guys available and they do that again, yeah, you could definitely make a case that Real Madrid should be a favorite. But here's the other problem. Yeah, I think he might be playing too. I don't really know right now. That's just kind of up in the air. Even Jude Bellingham, it sounds like Jude Bellingham is going to play as well. He came off with an injury, but Ferland Mendy came off with an injury against Girona over the weekend. And because Carvajal is still out and because their center back situation as well, they had to play against Girona. They had to play Tchouameni and Rudiger as a center back pairing, which is fine. I just hit my mic, which is totally fine. They're perfectly fine playing that way, but it's not the most ideal situation, right? You'd rather have Tchouameni as your main defensive midfielder because that's, he's their best ball winning midfielder. So likely going to be, probably a Modric and Valverde midfield, Bellingham is the 10 and hopefully they have their front three guys. But with Ferland Mendy out and also, like I mentioned, Carvajal out, they're really going to struggle defending in wide areas here. They've been playing Lucas Vazquez as a right back, which he's fine as a progressive right back, but he's not as good of a defender as Rudiger is. So for Atalanta, who is a team that is honestly very similar to Arsenal, they do wide overloads to the extreme. They love 4v3s and trying to get 5v4s, and even they get one, and they're even fine getting 1v1s as well, or 4v4s or 3v3s as well. And I think they're going to cause a lot of problems out wide. And I think that's going to be the biggest weakness here for Real Madrid. So I don't really see a reason why Real Madrid, given the injury situation that they're in, even if Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo play, they're really injured across that back line. So I like Atalanta quite a bit here. Draw no bets. Let me just pull up the best price here real quick. But yeah, it's one of those situations. And I wrote this, I did Champions League simulations today. I'm able to do, top 8 to win the league phase, 9 through 24. I'm still working on getting the tournament format figured out from a simulation standpoint. But I'm at least, obviously able to compare that to the futures market. And one I really liked was Atalanta to finish top 8 at plus 150. They have a really favorable game against Sturm Graz next. And if you really like them here, plus 150 to finish top 8. The more and more I'm looking at this, I think that 15 points is going to be your magic number to get in the top 8. I might be wrong, but I think that is right around where it's going to be. So get a result here against Real Madrid and beat Sturm Graz. I think Atalanta's in the top 8. And honestly, I think they should be a favorite here at home, given how good they've been this season. Again, they have not lost the expected goals battle in any match since that one against Real Madrid. That's crazy. They are so good, and they look unstoppable right now. They're 40-1 to win the Champions League. If anybody wants to dabble in that, I think that's too short. I would prefer something like 80-1. Hang on, let me just pull up that best price for you. Atalanta, it's down to plus 102, which is fine. I would say anything minus 115 or better on Atalanta, draw no bet, is good enough for me in this match. So, again, really like Atalanta in this match, given the injury situation for Real Madrid. And I think that the tactical plan they have of creating those wide overloads is gonna really cause them a lot of problems. All right. Yeah, I'm always listening. Who isn't scared of betting against Real Madrid in the Champions League? Come on. We've all been down this road many times before, and it's failed 85% of the time, but that's why we play this game, right? Yeah, that's right, Nolan. Devil magic. It's I don't know what it is, but them and Dortmund, man. It's just this Champions League. It's just I don't know. I don't get it, but whatever. Anyway, let's move on to let's do Inter and Leverkusen. That's a big match. I don't really have much for this match. If I were to bet anything, I think it would be Inter. Inter, I think, is one of the very few teams in the world that can really truly neutralize what Leverkusen tries to do in possession, because they are so versatile with how they play out of possession and both in possession. Inter they're second in the league phase right now. They've gotten away with a couple matches where they've gotten beat on XG, but snuck away with it. But Leverkusen over the weekend against St. Pauli. Let me pull this up really quick because it was bad. They won 2-1 as a -4? For they -400, -800 favorite somewhere. They were a massive favorite. They lost on XG 0.9 to 1.8. Not good. Now, they ripped off 5 straight wins. Congrats to Leverkusen. They completely dominated Salzburg in their previous Champions League match. But away to Liverpool, got completely dominated by them. They go away to Bayern Munich earlier in the season, get completely dominated by them. Even really weren't that great at home against AC Milan when they played them in the Champions League. So I think teams are kind of starting to figure out Leverkusen. The age-old thing is just like go man-to-man and go after them, right? But a lot of teams will play low blocks. There's very few teams that are better in the world at playing a low block than Inter is, especially with a back five, so Leverkusen can't overload them. So if I were to play anything, I would probably just play Inter on the money line. Again, I don't really have any value on it at all, so I'm just going to pass on the match. Yeah, Boniface is still out, I believe, right? So that means my guy Patrick Schick, who still is a great striker, by the way, is the only one available. Let me just look that up before we move on, so I can get you in. And, this is kind of the other annoying thing. Is just it's very difficult to get actually accurate injury news in the United States here. I'm sure it's easier over in Europe for anybody over in Europe watching, but over in the United States, we have 2 resources, and sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're not. For example, I went to one site that's hit or miss, but they're usually right most of the time. And they said Rodrigo was out until late December. And I woke up this morning and it was oh, no, he's actually probably going to play. I was okay, cool. Awesome. But yeah, it looks they'll be fine. Leverkusen has some injuries. Yeah, they need Schick back because otherwise they just don't have a striker, which not having a striker against this Inter team that's going to close off the middle and force you to beat them with crosses, not good. So yeah, if I were to play anything, if you just want to bet something on this match, Inter on the money line would be it, but I'm not playing anything. So those are 2 the big matches there. The other match that I liked on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. Oh, by the way, keep talking in the chat. If you got any questions or any matches you want to talk about that I don't hit on here, just please put them in the chat and we'll talk about them. Let's go. Oh, the other one I had was Brest versus PSV. I like PSV quite a bit here. Let me see I know that they've been bet down quite a bit. You can still get plus 105 at DraftKings. So I put this in the write-up. I don't understand really how Brest is able to cope with PSV. PSV is a team that completely dominates lesser competition. And when they have to play the big boys, they just suck because they're not really well equipped to play their style of play against better competition. Peter Bosz is great at setting his team up to dominate. 2-3-5, try to get 6-man overload in the middle of the pitch. Try to get whether it be inverted wingers or wingers overlapping and underlapping with the fullbacks to try to get 2v1s out wide. It's very, very difficult to stop if you are not a good low block defending team, which Brest is not. Especially the fact that Brest is going to play a back 4 and PSV overloads in a 2-3-5. They're going to get those 2v1s out wide. And they create a ton of chances via crosses. Behind only Atalanta, PSV has completed the most crosses into the penalty area, 20 in 5 matches. That's a very, very high number. And Brest this season, I mentioned this on the last live stream, but they have benefited from 8 penalties in Ligue 1 this year. 8. Take away all those penalties, they're dead last in expected goals in France. That's how bad they are offensively. Defensively, they're a very, very bad set piece defending team. They're actually the worst one in France. And they're also 12th in terms of defending crosses. So I think this is a great matchup here for PSV. Their numbers are hilarious. I mean, PSV in the Eredivisie has a plus 40 goal differential, which is absurd. And yes, if you look at their Champions League results, they have gotten they got pretty well dominated by both Juventus and PSG. But against Shakhtar, Sporting, and Girona, plus 4.1 expected goal differential. So I have them predicted at minus 120. So I really like them at plus 105. They were plus 120, and they've come down to plus 105. I think by tomorrow you might see them close around minus 110. We'll see. We'll see where we're at that point. But yeah, really like PSV. Is there anybody who wants to talk about any more Tuesday matches before I move on? Because the 3 picks there, the Liverpool Girona under 3, Atalanta Girona bet at plus 102, and then PSV plus 105 are the only matches that I have. Celtic Zagreb. Yeah, I've been going back and forth on this one quite a bit. My hair just flipped my hair down. Let me see something really quick because Pepe anytime goal scorer. Pepe is got 10 goals and like 690s in yeah. So I would like the Celtic Zagreb over if Bruno Pekovic for Zagreb was healthy. He's their best striker, quite honestly, outside of Baturina. He's their best player. So if he's available, he's a very dangerous transition guy, and you've seen that many times in the Champions League. And with Celtic liking to press high, you're going to probably see Zagreb try to play very direct over them. So, yeah, what do I have projected here? I mean, this is a 12:45 Eastern time match, so I get it. People want action, and I'm not going to deny people action. I have 3.02. Total is still at over 2.5 minus 130. That's probably right in line with where I have it, honestly. So I'll just pass on it. With Zagreb's best striker being out, I don't really see any reason for me to play it. Celtic has taken some money though. They were plus 145. Now they're down to plus 125. If it keeps going and Zagreb and Pekovic is available and Zagreb plus a half at like minus 115 or better, if it ever gets there, I highly doubt that's going to happen. I'd play that. Villa and Leipzig. Well, Leipzig's desperate. I'll tell you that much. Still 0 points. I think the line is correct. Villa, as you've seen against both Brentford and Southampton, bad pressing teams can't really stop their buildup. You have to be a really, really good pressing team to really disrupt them. And I'm not so sure that Leipzig is the team to be able to do that. I mentioned in the weekend preview about some of the issues that Leipzig has had in possession, which is really just the fact that they're really bad in build-up. They turn the ball over a ton in their own final third, and that becomes a big problem when they play really good pressing teams. So, like I mentioned, the last few results against Frankfurt, when they beat them in the DFB Pokal, Frankfurt's literally dead last in pass per defensive action in Germany. And then against Holstein Kiel, who's the worst defensive team in the league, it's no surprise that they were able to actually find some level footing. Villa's not really going to press them, but also I'm really concerned if Leipzig is actually going to create chances against them. I mean, they're 9th in non-penalty expected goals in Germany, 16th in shots. It's no bueno. So I'm passing on that match. They are plagued with injuries too. So it's just not a good situation. So I'd rather just pass and move on to something else. So yeah. So all right. We're about 26 minutes in. So I will do Europa League at the end, by the way. I'll run through a couple quick ones that I'll do. If you want more detailed analysis, I'll do another shameless plug for my Substack. I'll have a full article up for the Europa League. Pass per defensive action stats you can find at Understat. And I think they're still available at the Analyst as well. Is where you can find both of those. It's nice at Understat because you can Understat gives you the ability to filter by date and by home and away, which really helps when you have managerial changes and teams go from pressing to passive or vice versa. Who is the best pressing team in Europe? It's a good question. It might be Atalanta. It might be, but I think it's Bayern Munich. Yeah, it's Bayern. Yeah, I just when I thought off, I was trying to think. Yeah, it's Bayern by a mile. Bayern is suffocating with their press. They are so good at counter pressing, and what makes Bayern so good is the fact that Upamecano and Kim Min-jae they clean up so much back there, so they're able to really come at you with everybody and everyone, and it's really hard to play direct against them. So that's why Bayern is allowing 0.5, I think, still non-penalty expected goals. It's just because their press is amazing. So Bayern, I think that's the right answer. All right. Let's move on here let's move on to Wednesday. I will drop those on Wednesday. I'll drop them probably would make sense to drop them Wednesday at right after the Champions League ends. That would be my guess. So that's when I'll drop them. But I'll give out the picks here early. So that's the benefit of subscribing to the YouTube and watching the live streams is you can get the picks early if you want them. All right, let's move on to Wednesday. Righty. Should we talk Arsenal first? Should we talk Set Piece FC? Should we, or should we talk about Barcelona, Dortmund? I'd say or obviously City and Juventus. You want to talk Juve first? All right, let's talk Juve first. I like Juve against City. I mean, I keep saying it, but I don't think that Pep is going to be able to tactic his way out of this mess that City is in right now. It's not the fact that just Rodri is out. It's the fact that Kovacic is out too. They just have no midfield. They have no ball-winning midfielders available. I don't care how good you are offensively. You cannot win that way. And the situation that he's in is just says, all right, well, we're just going to go for it. We have one of two options. We can sit deep and try and, absorb pressure and then, pit teams on the counter. But they're so good at controlling possession that really the only way that they can play is just by pressing teams high and going after them. This match is not ending 0-0. I can almost promise you that, because Manchester City's defense is horrific right now. And this is, by the way, this is not just it's been a few matches, they deserve a pass. No, this is a clear problem. The last 8 matches, they have conceded 17.6 expected goals. It's not a blimp in the radar. And, oh, by the way, they're allowing the highest non-penalty XG per shot in Europe's top 5 leagues of anybody. More than Bochum, more than Brest, more than Ipswich, more than all of these horrible defensive teams. They are giving up chances left and right. And here's the thing about Juventus. I'm very lukewarm on them right now. I don't know if Mata is necessarily making them better than Allegri. I can tell you this much. They're an incredible defensive team still. He's gone from, more of a 4-1-4-1 approach, more of a mid-block as opposed to a low block. And it's been very successful. I put in my article, they've allowed the second fewest expected goals behind only Bayern Munich in Europe's top 5 leagues. They do have a lot of injuries, but they are very well equipped to play the way that they need to in this one, because although Mata wants his teams to build out of the back, they have been shown a more willingness to play direct when they have to. They are. I wrote this up. They have completed the second most long balls of anybody in Serie A, which is good. Yeah, I mean the injury situation. I mean it's okay. I mean it's not horrible. Obviously Bremer's out for the season. Cambiaso is not ideal. But they're a very versatile team. They have a lot of guys in that back line that can play a lot of different positions. So they'll be perfectly fine. The midfield is all there and available. So is Stones going to play though? Like that's the problem. Is Stones is out too. Like there's so many injuries on both sides here. Like City, as of right now, here, let me pull up premierinjuries.com just so I make sure I'm accurate with my injuries because I did this earlier today and sometimes news changes. But as of right now, Kovacic is not going to play in this match. John Stones is doubtful, it looks like. Akanji is questionable. Phil Foden still has an illness, and Nathan Ake is also out. So who's playing across the back line? Are they going to have to bring in, what's his name, Simpson Pusey to play center back? I know against Crystal Palace, they slotted Gvardiol in at left back and played Rico Lewis as a left back. Or excuse me, a left center back, and then Rico Lewis as a left back. So it's a mess back here for City. So keep fading them. Why not keep just pounding this over and over again? They haven't won a match away from home since they beat Wolves on October 20th. And oh, by the way, they needed a 95th minute goal to do that from John Stones, who probably isn't going to play in this match. So I like Juve I like Juve a lot. I think they're very well equipped to at least get a draw from this match. Yes, they have some injuries, but offensively, as long as Vlahovic is available, they're bettable. So I like Juventus plus half a goal. Best price you can find right now is minus 119, which is at Bet365. I would play that all up to minus 135. I think City, as it currently stands. Now, I will say this. I think things will change a little bit when Kovacic comes back. I think that the City will get better defensively with him there. But right now they have no ball-winning midfielders, and you cannot be good defensively without anybody winning the ball in the middle of the field. So, especially when you're trying to counter-press. So I like Juventus quite a bit here, plus a half at minus 119. All right. Should we do Arsenal or should we do Barcelona? Because I'm fired up about Arsenal right now. Barcelona it is. Surprise, I like the over. I like the over in Dortmund and Barcelona. If you watched any of Real Betis and Barcelona, it's going to be like almost a carbon copy here against Dortmund. Basically, any good transition team, any team that can play with balls in behind is going to have a chance against Barcelona to score. That high line, I don't know how sustainable that is long term. I really, center back, it really brings me to a loss of words, honestly, because I'm from the school of for my ideal setup, would be not playing as aggressive and playing more of a normal line, but they just want to go full on high line, really counter press and try to suffocate teams. And that just leads to high scoring matches. 3.8 expected goals per 90 is what Barcelona matches are averaging this season. I put a couple screenshots in my Substack write-up of just kind of what I'm talking about with Barcelona's overload and what I'm talking about with the high line and how teams can play balls in behind. So if you want to go look at that, I think I got a couple good pictures of it. But essentially, the six-man overload with the quality that Barcelona has on the ball is going to be way, way too much for Dortmund. The two teams that they have played that are at the level of Barcelona right now are Real Madrid and Bayern. They were okay against Bayern, I guess you could say that. They still conceded almost 2 expected goals. They got thrashed by Real Madrid because of individual quality. Barcelona has it, and they have it in abundance. If you overload and you isolate Yamal outside, he is going to kill uh, whoever's playing Bisbani or whoever's out playing left back for them. It's going to be a nightmare. So I really like the over here. I am projecting some value, and both teams to score is like minus 200. Like I don't have any. Gittins, yeah, Gittins is a really good. That might be the play here. What is he to score in this match? But in any case, so for the total over 3.5, you can find plus 110 at Caesars. That's the best price. I projected over 4 goals, so I think the total should be at 4 here. There's going to be chances just left and right. It's going to be a really, really fun match. But what was I going to say? But yeah, it's terms of Barcelona. What was I was looking something up here. Hang on 1 second. Oh, yeah. Oh, so, if you've watched kind of how Dortmund was able to create chances against Real Madrid, it was by getting those long balls in out wide and swinging in crosses, right? That's what teams do against Barcelona, and they do it over and over and over and over again. So yeah, Gittins to score. What is he to score? Because he's been electric for them. Gittins is plus 340 to score at Caesars. That's not bad. I don't hate that. I don't think both teams to score. Oh, look who's here. What's up, Debundo? Just in time. We're about to talk about Arsenal. So yeah, I like the over here. I did project value on Barcelona, but just on the road in the Champions League and with that high line, I'll put it this way. If I had the choice between taking an over in Barcelona or taking a Barcelona money line, I would take the over like 100 times out of 100 with how crazy that high line is. So love over 3.5 here. Let's talk about set piece FC. Because here's the thing is now I'm glad Anthony's in here because he's going to try to tell everybody that Arsenal's set piece numbers are not sustainable. And they are. They absolutely are. It's a very, very rare instance because, I read a great piece about Arsenal set pieces today. And essentially, the thing about Arsenal is that because you're constantly sustaining pressure on teams, because you're constantly keeping the ball in their own final third and winning corners, as long as those corners continue to happen, Arsenal's going to have chances. They are. That's just the truth. 1.3 expected goals off of set pieces against Fulham, over 2 against United. The routines they do are so good too. And the thing is, like, they create all that without Gabriel available in either of those matches. The 6-man back post overload is like almost unstoppable because teams basically have a choice. Like if you go man to man, you're not gonna be able to mark all of Arsenal's guys and all the the people going across the 6-yard box. So that makes it incredibly difficult. And if you try to put 4 guys at the front post, like if those guys that are marking the back post get lost at going through, then you get open headers, which is why Arsenal scored one of their first goal against United. Or you can just sit at the back post with 6 guys versus 4 and try to head it in that way. And, Arsenal does a great job of screening to get a guy available to, put a header back across the box. And that's how Saliba scored his second goal against United. Because Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka are so good at those in-swinging crosses and putting the ball wherever it needs to be, I don't see a reason why Arsenal can't sustain this type of set piece prowess. I really don't see a reason why they can't just continue to do this. If they're going to continue to put pressure on teams, control possession, keep it in their own keep it in the team's final third, they're going to win corners. And when they win corners, they're absolutely going to have chances to score off of them. Now, I really wish we could have got a better number on under 3 in this match because I think this match is going to be incredibly low scoring, and I actually don't hate a look at Monaco if we're being honest. I am planning on doing the weekend preview on Thursday, but I already have I already have another guest booked. I have my good friend Sam Ingram booked for Thursday, so I can book DeBundo for the next week. So we can go back to back. How about that? Because we don't need. Yeah, I big timed you. Sorry. Yeah, we'll have DeBundo on the week after. There you go. So you get Sam and Anthony on back to back weeks here. So yeah, Monaco is 7th in XG per set piece allowed in France. They've created the most expected goals off of set pieces as well. So and guess who Arsenal has this weekend too? They got Everton, who's the most set piece reliant team in the Premier League right now in terms of percentage of goals off of set pieces. So yeah, I mean Monaco is an incredible defensive team. Great performance against Toulouse over the weekend. They've been very, very good in this Champions League. Very good pressing team. They like to force teams to play out wide, which Arsenal's fine with because Arsenal's going to try to get wide overloads out there. But yeah, it's just going to come down to set pieces. Who can put one in? But yeah, I really do like the under in this match, and I might just play a really juiced under 2.5. I have 2.65 goals projected for it, and what is the best line right now? Let's see. There is an under 3 at -125 available. I don't hate a look at that. Hang on one second. Let me just pull up all the other books that actually have a 3 out there. Yeah, under 3 -125. I think it's available at Circa. That might have to be it. Otherwise, I might just play under extremely under or juiced under 2.5 at +136 because this Monaco defense is incredible, and they're going to do a great job of stifling Arsenal. They're very good defending in wide areas too. Both teams score. No, I don't hate a look at that either. But I mean, listen, going into the Fulham match, I mentioned this, but Fulham had only allowed 2 expected goals off of 40 corners. And Arsenal still created 1.3 expected goals against them. So I don't know. I don't know. I think the set piece thing is definitely sustainable. So yeah, both teams to score no is not a bad look. Arsenal's still one of the best defensive teams in the world. We'll see if Gabriel is. Let's see what I want to see what the stats, because Gabriel is back. That's great. Kiwar got cooked by Raul Jimenez, which was not great. So I would prefer if Gabriel was healthy and available, but it is looking like he is not going to play in this match. And the other problem that Arsenal has is Calafiori is also probably going to miss this match too. So that means you're going to have Thomas Partey at right back and Timber at left back, most likely. So, yeah, I you know what? Mark me down for under 3 at -125. I don't see how this match is getting to 4 goals. So I really like the under. Let's move on to okay, so those are all the big matches on Wednesday. Put in the chat if you want to talk about any other matches. I'll hit the last 2 that I have here, which are Lille Sturm Graz and Stuttgart Young Boys. Yeah, I was looking at Milan and Red Star. I think I'm just gonna pass. I mean, probably that match goes way over. I mean, Red Star cannot defend. They'll be fine without Pulisic. But yeah, I'm just gonna pass on that match. But if you want to play the over, go ahead. It's probably most likely going over. I like Sturm Graz +1 at +107 against Lille. So I was doing a little deep dive into Lille last night because up to Gittins anytime goal score up to +390. There you go. I was doing a little deep dive onto Lille last night just because, I was curious how, they're not as good as they were last year. But they obviously are winning a ton of matches. They're in 12th place here in the league phase despite a -3.3 expected goal differential. And doing some digging and watching some highlights, they're playing a little bit like De Zerbi's Brighton under Genesio. he likes this 4-2-2-2 buildup where he drops both of the strikers deep in buildup and keeps the wingers wide. And if you remember, well, what that does, first off, is it pulls, center backs into either an uncomfortable position or they sit back, and there you got an overload through the second phase of buildup. But if you remember, Brighton did this a lot where they'll put the wingers wide in this type of structure. And so since they're 1v1, and there's no offsides behind the halfway line, they'll just play a direct ball over the top to, like, whether it was Matoma or like Solly March or whoever was playing on the right for Brighton. And they were able to get a couple of huge chances off of those type of situations, like directly from the goalkeeper. Lille has done that a couple times this season, but it's not going to happen this match because Sturm Graz is not going to press them. They're just going to sit in a 4-4-2 passive defensive block and just deny space through the middle. And Janiso really wants his teams to play through the middle, very similar to De Zerbi. And if you're not able to play through the middle, it's like, okay, what are the other options that you have? And so one thing I like to look at when I see teams that are very obsessive with playing through the middle, it's, okay, how are you converting final third entries into box entries? Are you able to put in crosses? And are you a good set piece team? Because if you're not able to play through the middle and get the ball to the penalty box there, then what are you going to do? Well, Lille is 15th in crosses completed in the penalty area. They've created the fourth fewest expected goals in Ligue 1 off of set pieces. So if you're putting all your eggs in, let's play through the middle basket, what happens when a team just compacts the middle and takes it away? And I mean, listen, Sturm Graz has been terrible offensively. I'm not sugarcoating anything. They're terrible. I don't think they've created an expected goal in any of their 5 matches. I watched their match. The one match I did watch against them, the pretty extensively, was their match against Sporting when they were at home. I thought they were great in that match, honestly. But especially defensively, they were able to kind of keep Sporting from playing through the middle. Sporting just, Jokerish uses individual quality for the second goal is basically what happened. But Sturm, they held them to 1.2 expected goals. But overall, Sturm Graz minus 4.9 expected goal differential. That's not much different than Lille's right now. So I think Lille's overvalued here. Have their spread at minus 0.53. So I like Sturm Graz +1 at plus 107. Line keeps going up, which is from what I bet, which was even money last night. So not ideal, but I think it's just the fact that Sturm Graz is way down there. So that's and then the other one, Stuttgart and Young Boys over 3.5 goals at minus 105. I think is still the best price out there. Let me just double check that before we move on. Yeah, put in the chat if there's any other Wednesday matches you want to talk about. We will certainly hit any ones that you guys want to. Minus 110 at Hard Rock. So there's a -1, basically minus 115 everywhere. Minus 112 at FanDuel if you don't have access to Hard Rock, which is totally fine. So Stuttgart, I mentioned this when we were talking. Which one were we talking about? I think it was last Champions League, wasn't it? Might have been the live stream. But the problem that Stuttgart is having this season is they're just terrible defending in transition, and they're allowing way too many big scoring chances. If you look at their box entry, final third entry, and expected threat numbers, like they're all top 5 in the Bundesliga, which is great. But 13th in non-penalty expected goals allowed. So I dug into it. I'm like, what's happening? It's just big chances in transition. 16th in final third to box entry conversion rate allowed. Second highest XG per shot behind only Bochum, who's awful. They do one of two things. They typically will sit either in a 4-4-2 mid-block when they're playing against teams that are better than them, but most of the time they're pressing high. They try to do that against Atalanta, and Atalanta cooked them. Not saying Young Boys is going to be able to do that here, but when you press high, it obviously creates a more chaotic match and a very more up and down, and there's more likely to have chances than just sitting back passively. Young Boys defensively this season are 16th in goals allowed, they have 16 goals allowed in the league phase, 13.1 expected goals, an XG per shot allowed of 0.14, and total shots allowed 94. All those are either 34th or worst. They're terrible defensively. Doesn't matter if they press, doesn't matter if they play a mid block, doesn't matter if they play a low block. They are horrible defensively. And still this season, they're allowing 1.6 expected goals per 90 in the Swiss Super League. So I put this in my Substack article. It's the age-old question I always have. If you can't defend in your own domestic league, if you play outside of one of Europe's top 5 leagues, what makes you think you're going to come in here in the Champions League and actually stop anybody? Because they haven't stopped anybody yet. So, but they have a chance of scoring here, obviously, with how bad Stuttgart is in transition. So I had 4.2 goals projected for this match. I love over 3.5. I'll play anything minus 120 or better, which I think that's probably where it'll close by on Wednesday. All right. Any more Champions League thoughts before we go? I think the chat, I think Gittins anytime goal scorer, I think that's a grouper. I think everybody's going to be on that. That'll be fun. So yeah, everybody on Gittins. That's our one. Maybe that's what we should do on these live streams. We should all come away with one anytime goal scorer bet that we're all on. The chat comes up with it, and we all back it. So this one, the Champions League, it's Gittins plus 390 on FanDuel. Everybody's going to be on him. All right. Any more Champions League thoughts before we take a quick hit at the Europa League? I'll be very brief. Again, if you want more detailed breakdowns of the Europa League, you can subscribe to my Substack. And again, thank you to everybody who has already done so. I'll give it a minute here in case anybody has any more Champions League. Just pull up the Europa League here, what my bets were. All right, let's I think that'll wrap up the Champions League. Let's go to Europa League. I probably won't have time. I really wanted to. I'm like a half done doing Europa League simulations. Probably won't get them done in time before. I'm actually, you know what? I'll put it this way. We have a little bit of a break between Europa League, both Champions League and Europa League. After this round is done, I'm pretty sure the next round of matches aren't until January 20th, 21st for January 21 for the Champions League. I'll try to have Europa League simulations and simulations done for a lot of other domestic leagues as well. I have Champions League simulations up and 2 future bets in an article that I did today. I'll have Premier League simulations up probably tomorrow morning. And then I'm able to do more leagues. So I'm gonna hopefully as soon as I possibly can. Obviously we got to focus on getting these individual matches taken care of first, because that's what everybody cares about. Hopefully I can have those done as soon as I possibly can. But yeah, I'm like half done with the Europa League. So, I mean, Europa League really won't get that interesting, honestly, until we just get to the knockout stage. But in any case, I know everybody's going to want action on Thursday. So the bets that I had, Ferencváros against PAOK. I like Ferencváros plus 0.5 at minus 103. Ferencváros is actually, they lost their first 2 matches to they lost to Anderlecht to open things up. They got a red card in the second half of that match. Then they lost to Tottenham's. I know Tottenham rotated a ton of guys in that match, and the XG was actually ended up close. But this team that, they beat Nice at home, a team I'm very high on. They dominated Dynamo Kiev, and then they beat Malmo 4-1. So they've responded very, very well in this competition. And PAOK, I tried to fade them with the team from Latvia, RFS, and it didn't work out very well. But if you look at, how they've fared, they played Victoria Pleasant at home and they got pretty well dominated. They've lost, they've gotten pretty well dominated by Galatasaray. They've played, the team from Romania, FSSB. I'm not going to try to pronounce their name. And yes, they kind of dominated on XG, but that team just sat back after they scored. So I don't really think they should be laying a full goal here. The numbers in Greece are okay. We're not lighting the world on fire when Ferencvaros is dominating in Hungary. So for me, I think these two teams are really, really even. And from a projection standpoint, I just don't really see a reason why POK should be laying this big of a number. I like Ferencvaros plus a half at minus 103. I had three other bets. What were they? I kind of like Victoria Pleasant against United plus one. Also, I mean, like this United thing's going to take a while. FC20, man, they've been getting dominated by teams in this competition. If you go look at all their XG results, I was looking at it too, and I kind of liked them, but just seeing how badly they've gotten dominated, I have to stay away. I mean, just think this thing with Amorium is going to take a while. It just is. They're a team that he wants to turn. I'm like a broken record. I have to say this every single week, where it's just like, hey, this team isn't well equipped to be a like really aggressive, high pressing team. And, in a match like this, I think you'll see this match kind of mirror very similar to the Bodo Glimt match, where it's like, yeah, they had an 83% field tilt and they dominated, but they got exposed in transition. And Victoria Pleasant has shown in this competition that they can hit you in transition. They had two big matches. They drew Frankfurt 3-3. They got dominated on XG, but they did beat Real Sociedad 2-1. Is Manchester United any better than those two teams I just mentioned right now? Like significantly better? Because I don't really think they are. And they're laying a full goal on the road in the Czech Republic with a Manchester derby coming up. So I think Victoria Pleasant is definitely live. They've been pretty decent in this competition. So I like them plus one at minus 110. What was the other one that I really liked? Rangers Tottenham over 3. Total should not be at 3. Rangers is a very, very team that loves to get out in transition, loves to get the ball out wide overloads, which always is going to work against Tottenham, who, by the way, Debundo is terrible. Is Ange done, by the way? Is Ange done? Are we thinking he's gone? Because I think it would be a mistake to fire him now. I think you should wait till the end of the season to do that. But yeah, man, it's just like it wouldn't last the year. He might not. I don't. But like, who are they getting? You wouldn't fire. I wouldn't fire him either. I'm in agreement with you. I don't think I would fire him either. I think he's. I mean, if you look at Tottenham's underlying numbers, they're good this season. They've dealt with some injuries. Romero out 6 weeks. That helps the over, obviously. So, yeah, I really love the over in Rangers and Spurs. I projected over 4 goals for the match. I mean, it's just like if you watch the Chelsea match, it's just like the same thing like over and over again. It's like if Tottenham gets a lead, they're not going to stop pressing. They're not going to stop going for it. So Rangers in this competition, there's one match that rung out to me. I think it was when they played Malmo, I want to say. Or was against Lay, and don't quote me on this. I need to look up Rangers really quick. But in any case, like I think it was against Malmo, which is a good example because Malmo is kind of similar to Tottenham with their relationism of how they play. If you haven't seen Malmo play, it's very interesting. There's a bunch of tactical videos out there if you really want to, go dive deep into them. Yes, it was. It was the very first match against Malmo. Oh, yeah, and against Leon as well. So Rangers, they might be really good. So they scored 6 goals against Kilmarnock, 3 goals against Ross County in their last 2 matches. But in this competition, 4 goals against Nice, 2.2 expected goals. Against Leon, they had a 4-1 match and created 2 expected goals. And then against Malmo, they created 2.6 expected goals. This is a pretty dang good offensive team. Like I said, loves to do a lot of wide overloads as well, which always is going to work against Tottenham with how compact they are. So love the over there. And there was one more I had. Oh, Sociedad and Dynamo Kiev under 2.5 at plus 112, which is available at FanDuel. Dynamo Kiev, I mean, they're really bad in this competition so far. Have they trying to remember if they've actually won a match or not. They have not. They have lost. They've lost every match. How about that? But they can't create anything offensively. I mean, they scored their first goal of the competition against Victoria Pleasant. 0.5 against Lazio, 0.2 against Hoffenheim, 0.7 against Roma, half an expected goal against Ferencvaros, and 0.9 against Victoria Pleasant. It's just a horrible offensive team. And Sociedad, their matches are always very, very low scoring. And the reason for that is because when they have the ball offensively, they are a big-time ball circulation team. So Dynamo Kiev, a team that likes to play a low block. They might be a little bit desperate in this match, so you might see them, come out and try and press a little higher. But Sociedad matches in La Liga this season are averaging under 2 expected goals, 1.97 non-penalty expected goals. They're always boring. And we're getting under 2.5 at a plus number here, which I think is great value. So Sociedad, Dynamo Kiev, under 2.5, plus 112 at FanDuel. So yeah, all right, let me go back to the chat here. Other matches. Tel Aviv, over 2.5. Tel Aviv is playing against, sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head. They're playing RFS. I don't know about over 2.5. These RFS matches are actually a lot more low scoring than I thought they would be. So I'm just going to pass on that one. Neutral site as well. Bilbao and Fenerbahce. That's the Wednesday match, right? At 9:30. The total's too low. I would love to play an under in this one. It would be perfect. Mourinho and his low block counterattacking football against Bilbao, who plays the exact same way. It would be a lot of fun. But if you look at my projections, I have it right in line with where the market is. I have Fenerbahce at plus 126, Bilbao at plus 232, and then draw at plus 291, total at 2.68. So, but I'm not playing an over with these two, managers. So for me, I would just pass on that match. I know that's probably not the answer you're looking for, because that's the Wednesday match at 9:30. Maybe what's both teams score now? I can't remember. Let me just double check Bilbao matches. I think they're still quite low scoring. Excuse me. Gosh, why does FPREF make you put an Athletic Club instead of Athletic Bilbao? Yeah, I mean, Bilbao matches 2.1 non-penalty XG per 90 in total. That's what their matches are averaging in La Liga. You look through a lot of their Europa League matches. We've had, actually, what is both teams score? No, because every single Europa League match so far, now, outside of their match against Roma, they haven't played anybody of the caliber of Fenerbahce. But of their 5 matches, all 5 matches have not featured both teams at creating at least one expected goal. So let's look that up, because I know people, listen, again, I'm a man of the people. I know if people want action, I will give it to them. Both teams to score no is best price you can find. Minus 110. There's a minus 106 at Bet365. Let me just double check here. There's an even money at FanDuel. That's your best price. So here, let me just go in really quick and let me talk about Lazio being kind of tempting. Here's what I'll tell you. I gotta go rework that projection. I don't think I'm really that right. Lazio has gotten hammered by good teams, and Ajax might be really good under Ferroli, former Nice manager. They've really come on. They've been very good in this competition. They've dominated PSV when they played them in the Eredivisie. I would steer clear of Lazio in that type of situation. Yeah, it is. You're right, Anthony. Ajax 18-1 is a great bet. They're good. They're good again. I haven't looked at the Europa League board, I'll be honest, in a while. Let me just take a quick glance at it. But because, yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, like here's the thing: is like you have teams like Galatasaray that are right around him. Victor Osimhen's only on loan until January, so like if he was there, like you could make a case for Galatasaray. Roma's in flux. Fenerbahce is not as good as you thought as they were, honestly, last year. Last year, I would have loved to play Fenerbahce. If you want a long shot, Nice at 50-1 is kind of interesting. I like them under Francos. They've had a really bad luck in this competition. -7 actual goal differential, -1.1 expected goal differential. But yeah, Anthony's right. Ajax at 18-1 is the best value on the board of any teams in the Europa League here. And reminder, everybody, I know everybody knows this, but reminder, nobody's dropping down from Champions League this year. So teams are in this competition, and they are what they are. Tottenham's flawed. United is flawed. Bilbao's too short at 6-1. Sociedad is flawed. Lazio, Frankfurt are flawed. Lyon is flawed defensively. Yeah, there's just a lot of flawed teams in this competition. That's why it's the Europa League and not the Champions League. So if you want something in the Wednesday match, both teams to score no at even money, I think it's probably your best bet on the board if you're looking for something at 9:30 a.m. Central Time on a Wednesday. All right. Any more questions? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up. Again, thank you for everybody who's subscribed to the Substack so far. Again, I'm really excited to now that I have a decent number of subscribers, more than I thought I was going to get, which is great because now I can start continuing to create more and more content as we go here. So thank you to everybody who has subscribed so far. Again, for those who haven't, on the Substack, you get all my individual match projections, simulations, best bets articles. Eventually, when we get around to it, or at least we have a little bit of a break in the action, I'm going to do more long-form data pieces and tactical pieces on certain teams. I was thinking today I wanted to do a deep dive into Everton, just if they were just bad or if they were bad, and if they were like what type of Everton we're getting this year. Like those type of articles are what you're going to get. Eventually, again, once we have a little bit of break in the action here, obviously we got to focus on the matches that are actually happening in front of us here. So I'll try to, again, tomorrow morning, I'm going to try to do a early bets piece for the Premier League. There's a couple matches I already like, but I'll get my projections updated and out tomorrow. Premier League simulations will be out tomorrow as well. Europa League best bets article will be out Wednesday, probably right after the Champions League ends. Let's focus on the Champions League first, and then we'll focus on the Europa League. But I already gave out a bunch of the bets that we have here. But yeah, there's a lot more exciting stuff coming down the road here. Again, Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern time, me and my good buddy Sam Ingram. Next Thursday, me and DeBundo here on the live streams. So I'll continue doing these as long as we continue to have people actually watching them. So if there are no more questions before we get out, thank you everybody for tuning in late here tonight. And as always, good luck with all your bets. Let's hope we can keep it going. And quick picture thoughts on the Champions League before we go. Here's what I was doing. I was looking into it today. Here's like the interesting part of it is you could make a case that Atalanta, for example, is one of my future bets at +150 to finish top 8. If you look at the chasing pack of like good teams like Real Madrid and PSG and even Bayern to a certain extent, like a lot of the good teams are like scrambling just to finish in this top 24. Like they have no shot at getting into the top 8. So like if you look at the Champions League right now, if you're somebody like Atalanta who's sitting in 5th place, I mean, the chasing pack who's, outside the top 8 and chasing you is Aston Villa, Sporting, Brest, Lille, Bayern, Benfica, And then you have teams like in 15th and down, like Atletico Madrid, Milan, Manchester City, Juventus. Like the chasing pack is still kind of far away from you. I know it's only like 2 points, but again, they've got a very favorable match coming up. But in terms of big picture, I think it's going to be really interesting the last 2 weeks of this competition, because we'll get a greater idea of what seeds people are starting to slot into, because it's obviously still the league table is still obviously very congested right now, and I don't really know. We don't really have a good picture of like where all these teams are going to end up in terms of their seeding. That final day is going to be great. And I think maybe if Anthony's willing to do this, I'll do it with him. I'm thinking about doing a live watch along for either the Champions League or like a midweek Premier League slate. I think that final day of the Champions League would be a great watch along day here on the YouTube. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Maybe I can convince Anthony to do it with me. But once we know like what potential seeds teams are going to get. So like, let's just take for example. So let me pull up the Champions League bracket because my brain is fried right now. So if we get like, Bayern's in 13th right now, right? And let's say Bayern is sitting in like 12th place. So they would play like what, 20th? Is that right? If the team that's waiting for them, let me just pull it up and stop trying to like think of this like on my own. Hang on 1 second. I'm trying to find a bracket here. Nobody has a bracket. What the world are we doing here? Come on. What the heck? Okay. In any case, like my point is, it doesn't matter the seedings. But my point is this: is like if teams know that they are potentially going to get one of the big boys like Bayern or Manchester City or whoever that falls out of the top 8, are they going to try to intentionally lose so that they can face like Lille or Sporting or like one of those type of matchups? So I think the final day is going to be a lot of fun. This league phase has been it's much better than the group stage, right? Yeah, it might just be too jumbled. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. It might be too jumbled to figure it out. But yeah, which makes it very, very chaotic. We'll see what happens. Yeah, on that final day. But overarching thoughts. Liverpool have been great. I don't know if in this like tournament format, if they obviously should be the favorite right now because they're at the top of the league table. They've been the best team in the world. So obviously they should be the favorite. But in terms of like who I would actually bet for this competition, I don't know, man. It's tough right now to try and figure it out. I think it's hilarious that City is 5-1 and the second favorite though, because there's no reason they should be. Like Bayern at 7-1 is like incredibly interesting to me because I think that you could make a case that they're the like second or third best team in the world right now. Obviously the usual suspects, Inter at 16-1, I think still has a lot of value. They were 25-1 to begin this whole thing, and they're sitting in second place, so they're hopefully going to get a favorable draw. Outside of that, in terms of long shots, I'll tell you that there's one that I kind of like, which is Atletico Madrid at 50-1. I put it in the Substack Champions League simulation. Atalanta, I think that's still too short, honestly. Like I love Atalanta, but I would bunt them at like 60 in that range. I think 40 might be a little too short. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're just the best team in the world. What do you think, Anthony? Are they just the best team in the world and it doesn't matter what price we get? But I think 40 might be a little too short. Atletico 50-1. Atletico's ripped off a bunch of wins in a row. It's been against lesser teams, but I think they have a real really decent shot at getting in the top 8 here, given how soft their schedule is. Um, yeah. Oh yeah. Um, but 50-1 Simeone, by the way, if you haven't read my article, I put the matrix with all of the stats on it. He's gone like full low block again, like full low block counterattacking. Like you can just walk in the final third, but you're not getting the penalty. It's hilarious. I love it so much. So like if they are that good defensively with Griezmann and Alvarez and all the attackers that they have at their available to them, I think you could make a case of a repeat of 2014 or 2016 if they can get in the top 8 and get a bye. I think that really helps them. So I don't hate Atletico at 50-1. Yeah, Atalanta 40-1. That's like, you know what that price is? It's like it's like not a bad price, but it's also a price where you just like look at it and you're like, I really would like something better. Right? It's like it feels very perfect of what it should be, honestly. And again, I'll have the tournament format of my simulations done, but my guess is I'm probably going to have Atalanta around 40-1 if I have them pretty in line with the market on like to win the league phase and all that and stuff. So yeah, I mean you can make this may be harder to let's see how the season goes along, Anthony. I think maybe in the long run that Inter will be better than Atalanta. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think they're well more equipped, and I think that there have been some teams that have kind of done a few things to Atalanta that kind of shows some of their weaknesses. So I also worry just like if Atalanta can face a team like Inter or full strength Real Madrid when they're fully healthy, and it's like how effective is the man-to-man press actually going to be? So I think it really matters just who Atalanta is going to play during the competition to actually figure out if that price is good or not. All right, but yeah, okay, that'll do it for this live stream. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Yeah, as always, good luck with all your bets this weekend, or excuse me, this week in the Champions League. Be back Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern time with Sam Ingram, a betting expert, and we'll go through the weekend slate. We got the Manchester Derby this weekend. We got Arsenal Everton this weekend. Should be a lot of fun. So thank you everybody again for tuning in. Thank you to everybody who have subscribed to the Substack. And yeah, we'll see you all next time.